So you have this first meeting with him, and he doesn't have a name for the character, but he knows he likes the look.
Yeah.
Or at least he wants to cover up his face. Whatever.
Cover up his face, yeah.
Did he have a backstory in that first meeting of why this guy wears a mask?
No.
He just thought it was a cool look.
Yeah.
And so what's the context of the rest of the meeting? Once you get through the niceties of, I used to live over where that smokestack is, and hey, you like my promos, and we like this cool drawing of this guy. He's still just offering opportunity, or is this a more guaranteed deal?
No guarantee. So I took some umbrage once Stone Cold and I found out that Mark Meyer was a great human being, right? One of the greatest ex-wrestlers.
Sure.
In that he does these great talks with students, and he's changed lives. He's probably saved some lives. But at that point, when I found out that Mark came in like almost less than a week after I had with a guarantee, it was good for me. It was good for Steve too, because we both felt like we were two guys who could go, who could be a cornerstone for the company. And Steve had signed, a few months earlier than I had for just an opportunity. Yeah. I'd signed for the opportunity, and then Mark came in with a guarantee. That became a real driving force for us.
So Vince sort of lays out the plan. Undertaker apparently had been telling him and Kevin Nash that they needed you on the roster.
Yes, and thank you, Taker.
Then the mask. You wrote in your book that when you see the mask, your heart drops. Is it because you really had in your mind's eye, I was going to be Cactus Jack, and you couldn't imagine yourself as anything else?
Conrad, it wasn't broke. It didn't need to be fixed. One thing that really stung a little bit was when Vince was pushing the Dude Love character, and he really did push that. He did a voiceover. He goes, after having a modicum of success as Cactus Jack, Cactus Jack worked everywhere it was given a chance to work, right? I have no doubt it would have worked in WWE. But had it worked in WWE and I came out of the gate as Cactus Jack, I wouldn't have had the run as Mankind.
That's right.
There would have been no Dude Love. As we speak, I just saw there are plans for Pops to do Mankind exclusive to one store, Dude Love General, Cactus Jack exclusive. So they're doing the Three Faces of Foley in Pops 22 years after I retired from full-time wrestling.
Yeah.
So the longevity, it worked out. But at the time, it was like, it's not broke. Why fix it? So I could turn up the volume, and I could do a variety of different things character-wise. I'd shown that I could tell stories in ECW. I'd shown I could cut promos in WCW. I'd shown I could work with the top guys and not be and not be overwhelmed psychologically because you're working with these guys. I think on my way, and I know on my way to that flight to Corpus Christi, when I'd be going into a WWE venue for the first time since '86. I think I stopped doing the enhancement matches after my match with Kamala or Hercules aired. So it had been 10 years since I'd been in a WWE venue, and I had to think to myself on the plane, I had to think of all the people I'd already worked with in WCW, including The Undertaker, and I had to remind myself that I was kind of a big deal, that this was something that I had earned, because I've seen guys come in who lose their mojo in WWF.
Sort of big fish, small pond.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
And also, you get on the wrong end of maybe 2 or 3 people that can really hurt you at that time. I'm looking behind your over your shoulder at the Taz gear. Taz was a guy who, when you see Taz in ECW at Bam Bam, you're like, what manner of human being is this?
Yeah.
He looked like a monster. And then when he came in, he looked like a man. And he never seemed to regain that mojo that he had in ECW.
I think he started with it with Kurt Angle, but very quickly it felt like they...
because he received this incredible response, bigger response than I got at the Garden when I did the match with Triple H. So he was there, and just a couple guys, I think there were couple people behind the scenes who cast doubt on him. You know, Taz had asked if the fact that he was 5'7" was going to hurt him. He said, Vince said, no, we're going to make that work for us.
I wonder what Hunter said, though. Because as the rumor and innuendo goes, he was not a fan. And when he was the ECW champion and got pinned on SmackDown by the WWF champion, it was like, okay, well, that's the end of Taz.
And
as a fan of Taz, that's the way I felt. Like, man, you just beat him that easy with a pedigree, and that's not doing ECW or Taz any favors.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. He got on the wrong side of the favorability war, and within a short time, he didn't look like the same guy. But that's all confidence. It's a matter of confidence, and it's really easy to lose it. It's really easy to lose it.
Well, for that reason, I'm kind of glad you didn't come in as Cactus Jack, because I almost wonder, given all the fun and crazy and sort of outside of the box stuff you had done, I don't know that the company was ready, and I don't know that I as a fan was ready for a whitewashed version of Cactus Jack.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Eddie Gilbert had a chance to go back to WCW at the same time I did in August of 1991. He didn't want to do it because he didn't want it to tarnish what he and I had done for Joel Goodhart's Tri-State Wrestling. And I was willing to take the chance, and it paid off. I wish Eddie had done it, but he was so pure about, his feelings about what we had accomplished were so pure, he did not want to go back there. And probably the fact that WWE had ownership, not just literally over the Mankind character, but they could say it was theirs.
Yes.
I could counter by saying, you guys gave me a mask and insisted I be dressed from head to toe in brown.
Yeah.
Right? So brown. Like as our friend DDP would say, I went down to the ring with all the flash and dazzle of a UPS delivery truck.
It's true.
But that's all they did. They insisted that I have the mask and I'd be dressed in brown. And I don't know if that was a rib on me. At the time, they said only Undertaker wears black. And then I sat back and watched as a lot of guys
one
came
by
in
one
wearing black. But by that point, it's like, well, maybe brown didn't work for the Friar Ferguson character, And maybe you don't want to go down there looking like a 6'4" turd. But we made it work. I couldn't have made it work without The Undertaker. I could not have made it work without JR telling those stories. So it was a team effort in the sense that I had a great opponent and I had guys who put me over strong, on TV as well. But the name, Mankind, even the symbol on the back, the backstory as the pianist who lost his fingers, I had a lot of creative freedom. And then I would look across the arena at people trying to reinvent the wheel when it came to Vader. So I was like, well, they're leaving me alone, and they're on his case about everything he does. And I feel like if they just left him alone, if he'd come in a year later when it was officially the Attitude Era, that even Leon's. I'm talking about Leon because he was there a few months before I was, with a big push, but to me a fatally flawed push in that they still believe that a monster heel should be a coward. There was still that old school, you got to be a coward because that's what people dislike. That's what gets heat.